Hey everyone, sorry, I had a little mix up there. I got bumped from my account. I thank you everyone for joining the April community call. That intro video was just a bit of a tour through Infura's presence at the Game Developer Conference in San Francisco. So yeah, thank you everyone so much for joining. My name's Chris Anatalio, and I am your friendly neighborhood platform advocate. And on today's call, we have an action-packed agenda. We have Emily Lin, who is a platform advocate for the Consensys ZK product, Linea. Um, and then next, we have Guillaume, who is on the rapid application development team. And his team helps create really cool proof of application sample apps for the developer community to learn and continue their journey in Web3. And then we have Alexander from Pessimistic Security, who draws on wisdom and experience from conducting over 400 security audits. So yeah, probably knows this stuff a little bit. so yeah. So first off, Guillaume, your team creates some really cool Web3D apps, right? Did you want to talk about some of that?
Yeah, sure. So I think, as most of you know, Infura is part of the big Consensys family. So we have a lot of products, right? So like we have MetaMask, we have Infura, we have Linea right now, and all of these products sometimes they can work together, but it is not always that easy to figure out, like how do you actually make a dApp that uses all of them? So we set up around 2 months ago in the organization. We set out to hire 3 people that I have the joy to lead on a day-to-day and help them create these apps. So what we do at the RAD team, the RAD application development, is that we think of a use case. So we try to think of something, and then we try to incorporate all of the Consensys products into a finalized application. I'll give you a little bit. Our first one is coming up, I think, in around 2 weeks. So I'll give you a little bit of a tour, of like our process, how we make things work. But in general, what we want to do is we want to create things for the community. So like our goal in the end is to really make sure that the products that we create are public goods. So I'll give you just a small idea of what we are actually creating. I'll just go ahead and share my screen. So our first product is a voting and feedback application. So this is all on chain. So you're seeing here the earlier prototypes. We are finalizing the touches, and there is a repository available for all you developers out there who are curious to see. And what we've done is that we've incorporated the MetaMask SDK. We've deployed on Linea. We are using Infura as our node and infrastructure backend. And all of this is basically an application that allows you to give feedback on a couple of questions, all on chain. And the big idea behind these apps is that if I go to GitHub, sorry, my keyboard my mic is like blocking my keyboard. Take a few moments. Consensys. Really sorry, you're having to see me authenticate back into my account. So just to give you an example, when you are a builder and you're looking for inspiration, you want to know how to incorporate a MetaMask SDK. You want to know how to deploy to Linea. Obviously, the docs are the first things you should look at. But if you go to our app, and the first one, the name is Form Exchange, which it is public, but we will be announcing like the full version of it when we have finalized all the bugs and everything. So the idea behind these apps is that you now have here an example of, we have a mono repo where we have our packages. We have here some smart contracts that are all using Truffle, deployed on Linea. So the goal behind these apps is that for you as a developer, if you come and you want to have an example, you want to know how to do something more complex, like a real life scenario, like a real life situation, you can see it all in action in one place. And we all put a lot of thought and efforts into making the architecture and the scalability of these apps work. So we really think that the community can have, a really good example of how everything comes together and how you make a full stack Web3 application, which sometimes is not always that easy. You need to know a little bit of React, you need to know smart contracts a lot, you need to understand DevOps because you need to deploy, you need to script. All of that is not easy. So this is why we wanted to come up with these applications, and a few ones we're going to be working on. The next one here is going to be a marketplace for dApps where people can showcase their dApps. So, our goal in that team is really to help you get started and just get you to understand after your first 2 or 3 tutorials, break from tutorial hell and actually start to use, all your Web3 knowledge. That's a little bit of what we do. I'm not sure if, Chris, you have any questions or...
Yeah, no, that's super awesome. Yeah. So I mean, like, videos and articles are great, but like having an actual, like, working, fully functional reference application that you can kind of reverse engineer is like a really good learning experience for me. Could you tell me about your team's tech stack?
Yes. So in our tech stack, we use in our front end, we have Next.js. So sometimes, the community is pretty much used to seeing create React app when you have like a single page application. But we wanted to showcase also like the possibilities of server-side rendering. That's for our front end. We have in our backend, we are using Truffle. So Truffle is our development environment for creating our smart contracts. We have a factory contract, which we deploy to Linea. And that factory contract, we then use to create an instance of a feedback form, which you can create a bunch of feedback forms. What else do we have? We use TypeScript. We use Tailwind.
Tailwind's so much better than Twitter Bootstrap.
Oh, yes. We try to make what we think is the quintessential front-end stack with the quintessential Web3 smart contract stack. We try to be like tip top in everything we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that seems pretty industry standard, and those apps look great. Can't wait to see them in 2 weeks. So Emily, zero knowledge EVMs, they allow you to perform zero knowledge computation natively on the Ethereum virtual machine, which helps ZK rollups on L2 scale. Is that right? And I hear Infura is also going to support your public testnet.
Yes, we are. You guys are. I think end of May, right? I don't know the exact date, but it's on the way. Yes. Cool. I mean, did you have any other questions? Sounds like a yes or no.
Sorry, that was my intro to you, like handing the mic to you to do like a little intro to Linea, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I could do an intro to Linea in case you guys didn't know. So super exciting stuff, right? So if you guys aren't familiar, Linea, so Consensys, like, I guess, released private beta for Linea, a type 2 ZK EVM rollup at the beginning of January. We opened up public testnet March 28th. Let me pull up our Explorer to see how many transactions we have right now. It's like super sexy. The numbers are insane. Like, the response has been really great.
Millions, yeah.
I don't know. I don't have the Explorer URL off the top of my head, but as of like yesterday, I think we had hit 8.5 million transactions, which is like pretty insane. Yeah, so for a little background on like maybe like what it is and why you should get involved, I think it's first off, like I said, type 2, we are on the way to type 2 ZK EVM. So just kind of a background of the different types of ZK EVMs. There's 4 types. The 4th type, so type 4 is the least similar to the EVM. So that is high level language equivalent. So that's writing Solidity, but it compiles down into something different that is more compatible with creating like a ZK proof out of it. As you move further down, type 3 is kind of where we're at. You can think of it as on the way to type 2. And type 2 specifically is bytecode equivalent. So type 2, let me rephrase. So type 4 is going to be something like StarkNet, like ZK Sync. Existing developer tools have to change their code in order to accommodate
Pyro.
like basically these I guess test nets, or not test nets, rollups. Then we move on to type 2, which we're going for Polygon, ZKVM, Scroll, Linea. We're bytecode equivalent. So that means we don't have to wait for the tooling ecosystem to catch up with our technology. Things work out of the box, stuff like Truffle, Hardhat, Foundry, whatever you're using. You just swap out your RPC endpoint. So that's kind of where Infura comes in. So if you guys are Infura developers, normally it's like Infura, girly.infura.io / blah, 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 API key. Literally just replace the word girly with like Linea, right? And then you're good to go. And so what we offer is like ease of use. You can just port your dApps over. When we talk about, I think people ask me a lot about like, how do I choose a rollup, right? So I think there's a few things to consider. We talk about liquidity. So how much, I guess, liquidity is on it right now in the like rollup space. Optimistic rollups are winning. I would say a lot of that is because they were the first ones out there, right? ZK, like I guess Ethereum compiling down to something that like ZKs can understand is very difficult. And so that's why kind of ZK has come out second with regards to the order of how rollup space has evolved. But with ZK rollups, you don't have that challenge period as composed to optimistic rollups. So optimistic rollups essentially have to wait 7 days before you can withdraw your ETH back on the L1. There are things like trusted bridges that allow you to do it immediately. However, this is not a great solution because for one, it is a point of attack. Like it is a bridge, right? The other piece too is I don't think there's a solution for NFT withdrawals. Right. So you're gonna have to wait for that. So that's a big reason of like why you would want to choose ZK over optimistic, right? And then once we get into future proof kind of stuff, or another thing I want to talk about is like user base, right? So I think Linea really wins because we sit within this consensus ecosystem. So if you don't notice, for those of you who are MetaMask users, Linea is a default network, right? So that's really exciting because that is at the forefront of every user's mind. And that's really how you improve user experience, get people onboarded. Like it's an immediate point of awareness. I think that's a really strong point that people don't really think about when, talking about like, oh, I care about like whether or not this prover's blah, blah, blah tech is which is, something I think you should keep at the forefront of the mind, especially as a future dApp developer. You want users to transact on it, right? And kind of where we're at right now, I see that there's a lot of comments about bridging being troubling. This is both really good and really bad. So if you guys don't know, Linea currently is coming out with or not coming out, has recently released our NFT voyage. So essentially, for the next 9 weeks, every week we'll be releasing a separate set of challenges that are or offline tasks specifically to stress our network and detect bugs before we get to mainnet. Right now, we are at like a self-supported public RPC endpoint, which will hopefully be resolved like once we get Infura on board. So that's kind of why bridges and all of this is really slow, is because the community has been insane about engaging with this NFT voyage, celebrating and helping us test. So next week is a series of off-chain tests, I'm pretty sure. So hopefully I'll let things cool down. Kind of how it works is on-chain. We're gonna back the system. Off-chain weeks that engineers can like finally calm down and like get things out and do like the necessary things to make sure the next week is like better than the previous, right? So that was kind of an overview of Linea. That's also why the bridges are kind of crazy. This week is bridge week. I apologize, but I'm also really excited. The more trouble that we can have now, the less trouble we'll have once people are on mainnet using real money. Yeah. Okay, I can take some questions if there are any other, unless we need to move on.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's great to stress test and network and test rather than prod, right? And it's a good problem to have to get the hug of death from your community. It's like a victim of your own success, right? So for developers who are looking to get started building on Linea, they just go to linea.build, click on docs, bridge some Gridley ETH to Linea. Do you have any resources you'd like to call out?
Yeah. So if you're a developer, I'll put it in chat. It's just docs.linea.build. There's, if you want to go deeper in, there's a developer section and then a quick start, and it'll have a section for how to deploy, and then also how to verify your smart contracts with Truffle, Hard Hat, and Foundry. But it should work out of the box for Brownie and Remix and all of that, because we are bytecode equivalent. If you want to add documentation for that, please feel free. The repository is open source. So yeah.
And there's a chance you might get a Gitpo app, right? If you contribute to the
Yes,
doc.
that's in the works. Yeah, I
Ooh.
have it, the designs in. I just need to do the whole like connection with Gitpo app, and that'll be pushed out.
Yeah, people
cool.
love NFTs and imaginary internet points. People love them.
It's not imaginary. It's real. That's the point of an NFT.
Well, everything is imagined by people. You know, we make it all up.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
Fine. Crush my reality. That's okay.
We live in a simulation. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So what was it like? You had Joe on your community call, right?
Oh yeah, that was pretty insane. So our first community call, feel free to find us on YouTube, Linea Build. We did a community call. We had like 13,000 signups, like
What?
over 6,000 live attendees, and then I didn't check like the views afterwards, but obviously people were playing afterwards. I wrote a recap on it. So if you don't want to watch it, I did a blog post on our Mirror blog, linea.mirror.xyz. Like with Mirror, if you guys aren't familiar with it, it is an on-chain kind of blog platform where you can collect posts. So that recap post, I think, ran out of NFT collections, which was 500 within like the first 45 minutes it being posted, and had like 13,000 views the last time I checked. And I was like, holy moly. I need to plug my Twitter on that recap post more often. Clearly.
Wow.
But yeah, it was crazy. But who do we have on? So we had our product manager to kind of give a rundown of what it is. Much more expanded than like what I was able to give. Declan, I think he was on an Infura community call beforehand. So if you've seen him, super smooth, the British accent, very pleasant to. We had our head of research, Nicola, really smart guy, talking about the history of Linea. It's really interesting. It's been a project at Consensys for 4 years. Started off as a privacy payment solution, because I think at the time when ZK was being researched into, like the idea that you could run like code in a ZK circuit was insane, right? Luckily enough, I think through that process, we realized, hey, it's actually very doable. We came out with an award-winning ZK circuit development library called Gnark. It's open source. So other projects are starting to use it as well. So that was really cool. So really smart guy. Who else came on? Hop, our first kind of like premier bridge integration, came on to talk about how easy it was. Linea. I was there to shill Hop, obviously, to join in, but all he did was talk to Linea. So that was actually near and dear to my heart. And yeah, we had Joe. Joe dropped some major alpha that I'm not going to talk about because you should watch it yourself. But that was really fun. Yeah, I think we're best buds. He might not agree with you, but yeah, no, that's the narrative on. Yeah, Emily Lynn, best buddies with Joe Lewin, founder of Consensys, CEO. Yeah, but
you play D&D on weekends?
Do I play D&D on weekends? Where did this come from?
Oh, it was Joe.
Oh, do I play D&D on weekends with Joe? No, unfortunately not. I have not asked him yet. I think that's a little intimidating, but I did meet his dog at one point, and it's very cute and likes to jump up a lot. So those are fun facts about Joe.
Cool.
Yeah, we're both in New York, so I think we have some consensus side events sometimes. So fun time.
Awesome. Yeah, I've tried to understand moon math or like ZK circuits. It looks simple, it just looks like arithmetic and nested conditionals, but it's still just like really hard to grok and understand.
No, it's incredibly confusing. I do want to say, if any of you guys know the ECC organizers, I'm applying for a workshop with one of our researchers about how to incorporate GNARC, our ZK circuit library, into your applications. So, if anyone wants to make noise about it and text them, and if you're best buds, let them know. Yeah, but I mean, even not, that's fine. Cool.
Cool. Yeah. So thank you so much, Emily. Emily is pulling double duty as the Truffle and Linea
Oh,
developer
yes.
advocate. And the Truffle community call is actually right after this. So thank you so much, Emily, for joining right before your call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please join in 40 minutes. We'll talk about all the cool stuff that Truffle's coming out. There's a pretty good integration with Truffle and kind of the multi-chain tooling environment as well. But yes, okay. I'm going to hop off to prepare for that. But thank you so much for having me. If there are any questions, feel free to ping me. I can jump back on.
Definitely. Yeah. So we'll post that link to your community call. We've posted all the Lydia links. So yeah, thank you so much for joining.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I will drop the community call on here very quickly.
Yeah, the blockchain explorer girly linea.build.
Oh yeah, I think I just checked. It's 9 million. We're at 9.2. So in the course of one day, we have crossed the 9 million mark.
Wow.
Our goal is 30 million actually by the end of the 9 weeks. So
okay. Now you're showing off.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much. I hope to see you guys on the Truffle call later.
Yeah.
Bye. How do I exit?
Cool. Yeah. So that was Emily from the Linea and Truffle DevRel team. Lydia, some cool stuff. Check it out at linea.build. We got some great docs on there. And yeah, it's going to help L2 or ZK rollup L2s be more scalable and also cheaper, so we get on board the next, I don't know, billion users, hopefully, the blockchain. But yeah, it's really cool stuff. It's all moving really fast. And yeah, super exciting. So next up, we have Alexander from Pessimistic Security. So my understanding is that generally it's better to find out about a bug before you get hacked or exploited rather than after.
Yeah, I think you get the idea. Yeah, absolutely. So the earlier you know, the better. So let me tell you a bit more about this. And I will share my screen. I feel so strange opening my presentation on this call because I feel like bringing a knife to a gunfight. No one has a presentation, but I have it. I have it. Okay.
I think you brought the gun to the knife fight.
Okay, so let me tell you how we can front-run crypto exploits before they happen. And to start with, I will use the first slide to shield my team. So I'm a CEO of Pessimistic.
Hey, Alexander, I'm sorry. Could you turn your mic up a little bit?
1 second. Can you hear me well now? I can just, speak louder.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's great. Yeah.
Okay. So Okay, so at Pessimistic, what we do security audits for top tier Web3 companies. We do a lot of security researches. So if you are a developer, come visit our blog right now, because we do a lot of researches on how to properly integrate your protocol, your dApp into Aave, Compound, Balancer, etc. And we develop a lot of security tooling like Spotter, Slithering, Smart Check, and some of our tools are really popular. And yeah, so come and use our tools. So let me start with the big problem that we want to solve. So the big problem in the industry is crypto hacks. Almost $4 billion were stolen last year, and all of us know that the number of hacks has been growing really fast the last 3 years, and you know, along with the industry itself. And due to the manual nature of the smart contract security audits, and due to the lack of smart contract security experts on the market, security audits cannot neither guarantee the absence of the hack, nor the move and the scale with the same speed as the whole industry does. So to me, it's absolutely obvious that Web3 needs scalable security solutions. Because if we take a look at Web2, in Web2, security is automated. So we see a lot of abbreviations that somehow prove that there is little of manual work in Web2 security. So let's take a look back to Web3. What automated tools do we have here? And so I will split all the security measures that the Web2 developer can take to before deployment measures and after the deployment measures. So before deployment, we can have extensive specification, we can have large test use static analysis tools and fuzzers, and we could even perform formal verifications. And you can see that the last 3 items in this list are actually scalable and automated. And after deployment, we can also do a lot of useful things to ensure the safety and security of our system. And among automated things is setting up some kind of insurance and setting up the monitoring. And since I am really thrilled by the monitoring stuff, I will continue, going deeper into details of the last item in this list. So 2022, late 2022. A lot of people in late 2022 came up with the idea of predictive monitoring, that you can not only react to what has already happened, but you can predict what will happen in the future. And due to the latest studies, more than half of all hacks are performed in several steps, which usually include funding of the hack. And funding is when hacker takes some money from some shady sources like mixers, like Tornado Cash, or like blacklisted addresses. Then hacker proceeds to step 2. Step 2 is a preparation for the hack, which almost always involves the deployment of specific malicious smart contract that contains all the logic of the hack. And this smart contract, it really differs from usual normal smart contract. And third step is the hack itself, is when hacker calls for one of the methods of these malicious smart contract. And then after the bad things are done, hacker proceeds to the money laundering. So the basic idea is that we can detect the early stages of the hack, the funding and the preparation. And if we can detect these early stages, we can take defensive measures even before the loss of funds happens. So let's consider the case study, earlier hack. So with earlier hack, hacker used the same scenario I just described. He took the money from a mixer and then deployed specific malicious smart contract that contained specific malicious logic, like flash loan, signature of some function which was used by earlier finance. And then hacker performed the hack. But the important thing is that with our product, with the Pessimistic spotter, we were able to detect the first 2 steps of the hacker. So we knew that something bad is going to happen with earlier finance 6 minutes before the hack happens. So let's imagine what could be done in case Euler were integrated with Spotter. We could, for example, we could pause the protocol, or we could pause some specific functionality in the protocol, like money withdrawal, etc. We could trigger automated withdrawal of money of Euler finance users from the protocol. We could even notify AML officers, and we could even notify the hacker himself or herself about that we know that is going to happen and that they are detected. And in some cases, we could even notify node operators and RPC providers about that something bad is going on, and we can see whether they could do something about this. So to me, all these opportunities are really thrilling. So this is why we are building Spotter. So let me tell you a bit more. Since we are developers, I think that the bigger part of the audience has technical background. I'll tell you a bit more about the analysis techniques that we use, because I think this might be interesting. So what we use static analysis to extract high-level information about the smart contract from its bytecode. And then we use machine learning to capture statistical differences in bytecode between malicious smart contract and normal ones. Then, in the future, we can use dynamic analysis to simulate transactions and check cash flow, and even fuzz suspicious smart contracts to verify whether it is attack or not before the attack has started. Dynamic analysis generally however, is really slow, so we need to develop some workarounds to actually use it to compete with the hacker with the speed. However, it's a promising opportunity. Then one can use machine learning to absorb all available information about transactions and contracts to produce a risk score. We can also risk score all the addresses that we have in the blockchain. And we can start with very simple measures like blacklisting of the sanction addresses. We can start with the blacklisting of the addresses that somehow are related to illegal activity. And we could even go one step further to perform machine learning-based analysis of the transaction graph to build the risk scoring model. Now, let me show you how it works, because I think this is also really interesting. I will proceed to the video. So we think that what is the most important thing is to react as fast as we can. So I will demonstrate the speed of Spotter using our Telegram bot. And if you are interested, I can share access to our Telegram bot after the call. So I will pretend that I want to protect Curve 3 pool from hack. So I will go right to the website of Curve and copy the address of smart contract of the pool and drop it right into our bot. And you can see how Spotter analyzes the smart contract and creates custom monitoring detector that will look into mempool of Ethereum mainnet using Infura to catch any malicious activity that could somehow affect Curve 3 pool. Then I will change my mask. I will prepare that I want to break Curve 3 pool, that I'm a hacker, and I prepare some specific smart contract with malicious logic. So I have prepared some smart contract, and now I will deploy it to the mainnet, imitating that I am preparing for the hack. So right now I will sign the transaction and see what happens. As you can see, we received the alert notification within a couple of seconds after I signed the deployment transaction. which means that we received alert about the upcoming hack even before the preparation for the hack was mined. So we are like 2 steps ahead of the hacker. So hacker even hasn't finished his preparation, but we already know what is going to happen. So we can trigger anything we want to trigger. And yeah, I like it a lot. Okay, so MVP is already available for testing. So if you develop any kind of DeFi dApps or any kind of of dApps or protocols that deal with money, and you're afraid of your funds to be lost to crypto exploits, you can contact us and and try. It's free for now. And also, we are developing a B2C version of our product. Very soon, it will be released. So B2C version will be available as a MetaMask plugin. So it will be able to save your funds from a hacker in case we detect any malicious activity that could cause the loss of your funds. So we will act like a fireman who knows about fire before it began. Okay, so basically that's it. Thank you for the attention, and I'm really happy to answer any questions you might have.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's amazing to like preemptively detect the preparation phase of a hack. You know, that's crazy. So like beyond like the basics of security, controlling visibility, validating conditions with like asserts requires, controlling, access. Like um what high-level security guidelines would you give to Web3 developers, like as an elevator pitch?
I would say, guys, please write the documentation. Please use, do test coverage. It's really important. I cannot emphasize more the importance of having proper documentation and proper testing environment set up. And even for mature teams, they sometimes don't have it, and it results in very, very bad consequences. And also have security audits, and it's better to both book ahead and have enough time gap for working with the output of security audit between before the actual deployment of your protocol, because in some cases you will need to really reconsider your approaches to development process, your approaches to building your product, and it can be really significant for the security of your project.
Totally.
Quick question. As a dApp developer, like I do find out sometimes reassuring users that we are, non-malicious, like because there's so many projects popping up all the time. Like how could like a dApp developer integrate your product to reassure their users? Like how would the workflow, explain to me like the typical workflow for integrating your product inside like a dApp?
Currently, we are on early stage, so mostly we are finding out the ways of integrating into dApps with the with the least friction possible. Because mostly many notable protocols, they are highly decentralized, and of course they cannot just pull the trigger to stop the attack, to stop their protocol. So we need to work with the protocols to find out the best practices to actually to stop attacks without sacrificing decentralization. So I think it's this topic will be really. I believe this topic will be really hot in the upcoming year, and there will be a lot of market education that must be done, and a lot of customer development interviews. I think it will be like hundreds or thousands of them to to actually find out the best way. So, but you can easily start with just setting up a Telegram bot and finding out what kind of alerts it generates for you. And because even if these alerts are not, straight hacks, it might be alerts about some kinds of integrations that people do with your protocol. And this is also very interesting information to know.
Thank you.
Awesome. So you spoke about fuzzing. We actually just went public GA general availability for a product called Diligence, which is the Consensys fuzzing product. And if you all don't know about fuzzing, it differs a little bit from static analysis, where you're checking for known vulnerabilities, and fuzzing kind of hammers your functions with like millions of potential inputs, but not at random. They're kind of there's a model to make that so that they're like good guesses, for inputs that might cause issues. And that's crazy that you could just detect issues like not even known vulnerabilities from this technique. Yeah, just a plug, Consensys.net, Diligence Fuzzing. We currently have a free tier, 10 hours of fuzzing time. Definitely check it out. Finding the bug before the exploit definitely has some ROI, as far as losses.
It's fantastic news, because I was waiting for it to be released. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah. I'll send you more information after the call. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Fuzzy as a platform, super cool stuff. You use Scribble to instrument your code. Then you just plug it right into the Fuzzy platform, and yeah, hopefully. So fuzzing generally. So fuzzing doesn't replace manual auditing. You definitely still need a manual audit, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. No tool replaces manual audit. However, it can really it can add another level of of safety, of security to your protocol, because audit is not a guarantee. You can do a lot of things to ensure that your protocol, that your dApp is safe and secure. It's as I already said, it's writing proper documentation, setting up test environment, test coverage, fuzzing, static code analysis, even in some cases formal verification. If you really have a lot of time and money, you could do that. You could do economic audit, and you could set up the monitoring. You could set up insurance. But yes, fuzzing. If we talk about fuzzing is can be really useful. However, I would recommend to take some time to actually get to know the tool that you are working with. We use fuzzing tools in our auditing practice, and we know that it takes some time. So be prepared that it's not something that works right out of the box. You will need to invest your time, but when you do, you just get another level of, name it, insurance.
Yeah, you definitely want redundant layers of safety. You want your seatbelt, you want your airbag, you want your deformable frame, Yeah, and then you still got to be a safe driver too. So, yeah, let's check out some questions from the crowd and see what we got here. Let me see. Will you cooperate is famous?
I think that one.
We're all gonna make it, Infura.
I think this one was going to the one you were reading. Will you cooperate with famous projects from the future? I think this one was for the RAD team.
Hey, Guillaume, I'm sorry, you're kind of quiet right now. Could you say that again?
Oh yes, sorry. Before there was a comment that my mic was too loud, so I'm trying to tone. Yeah, so the question you were reading, will you cooperate with famous projects? I think this one was for the RAD team that we're starting at Consensys. And since everything we build is open source, cooperation is on the table, but nothing secret. Like it's nothing like we're going to, let's say, like work with one of the big 5 dApps and make like a secret feature with them. It's going to be more when we integrate with project. When we build, it's going to be more as a user of those projects, of those protocols. Because we're building with everybody. Anything that is open source, we're happy to build on, as long as we can showcase the best development practices.
Sure. All your projects are Apache 2, open source license. So
yes.
Cool.
Yes, and full instructions on how to deploy your own also. So like the GitHub comes with like a step-by-step deployment process. And now that I've listened to Alexander, I think we'll make sure that it's so secure and that we have like a security audit step in launching a free version of those projects.
Yeah, definitely. Let me see. I think I have one for Alexander here. So, what is the medium of notification to smart contract protocol devs before exploitation occurs? It is a process automated with reference to speed. So, I guess they're asking when you detect the preparation phase of a hack, how do you notify the team and what actions can they take?
The first thing is just throwing the notification in Telegram bot, and it's more for testing, for setting up the environment. However, of course, we need the automated reaction. So we are developing API right now. So the team could just use our API to perform some automated actions. Because of course hack can happen in the night, and you cannot just leave your notifications open in the night.
Awesome. Let me see. What else do we have? I mean, someone asked with Linea, we'll go mainnet. I don't think I'm allowed to say, but soon. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So did you have a link for that Telegram bot, Alexander, that you wanted to post in chat?
Yes, I will
Cool.
share it right now. One minute. Okay, here's the link to our public bot, and soon we will invite everyone who is subscribed to our public bot to our private bot that is actually does the business.
Cool. Thank you. All right. So one final question, Alexander. What is like the nastiest potential exploit you found with like that could have caused a big loss for a company off the top of your head? If you're
Chris,
Yeah.
I am not sure that I'm allowed to say that because we are really bounded by
Yeah.
NDAs.
Yeah. I was about to say, actually, yeah, we probably don't want to be surfacing these bugs and making them common knowledge. Yeah, so let's edit that out in post production. Oh wait,
sometimes we find bugs in the protocols which are already deployed, and this is the reason why I recommend people to actually consider performing security audits before going live, because it makes it creates a lot of trouble to the team.
Well, I mean, mainnet's going to audit your contract, whether you did beforehand or not. So someone's going to audit your contract. So, and yeah, I'd rather have a white hat than a black hat audit my contract. So, yeah, definitely. Yeah, Alexander. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for your service to the Web3 community, keeping everyone safe. With your 400 plus audits. But everyone, be sure to check out the Telegram bot. Yeah, Guillaume, you said which app did you say was launching in 2 weeks?
I guess we're still testing things because we're like on Linea testnet. So like we're testing to make sure that the DApp is responsive and fast. So we are kind of building at the same time as the testnet is improving. So I think within 2 weeks, like it is already online and it works already. Just want to make sure that it is safe from what I learned today, and that it is the UX is spot on. That's something I care about deeply. So in 2 weeks.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, let me check the questions one more time. Let me see. Okay. Well, I guess that's about it. So yeah, thank you to our guests for joining. Yeah, we'll send you out their information, their links, their socials after the call. So yeah, thank you all so much for joining.
Thank you for having me here, Chris.
Thank you so much.
Totally. Yeah, so just couple announcements. Be sure to check out the developer's guide to the Web3 stack. It's that name as a slug on the Infura blog. Just Google that or go to the blog. It should be featured. It's a comprehensive, high-level overview of everything a Web3 developer needs to know. It's a really great resource. It's really comprehensive, so be sure to check it out. If you haven't heard, Infura now has a faucet for the Sepolia testnet. One thing that differentiates us is our test ETH comes from a partnership with the Ethereum Foundation. So we don't run dry as often as faucets that rely on donations. So you can rely on this faucet to have ETH for you. You can check that out at infura.io/faucet. And there's also a button in the Crowdcast that says Infura Faucet. If you click that, it'll bring you there. You get half an ETH per day. So be sure to check that out if you need it. And I recently released a new video. It is a hands-on coding guide with the NFT API and SDK. It walks you through how to integrate the NFT API into your existing architecture, and also how to use the SDK to deploy a ERC 721 smart contract and also mint an NFT. So be sure to check that out. I think you can just search on YouTube for NFT API. It should be on the first page, hopefully. Yeah, I definitely check that out. And we'll be sending out these links. Be sure to check out Pessimistic Security if you need a security audit, or if you want to do some security research on their blog, or check out their Telegram bot. Really cool stuff. They've been in the game for over 5 years, so they know their stuff. You could also check out a longer version of Alex's talk from ETH Dubai, linked here. It's on YouTube, where he goes into more detail. We also have a video on YouTube for using the Sepolia testnet faucet. And be sure to follow us on all the socials here. Yeah, I'm not sure if you wanted to. Are you on Twitter? I'm sure you're on Twitter, Alexander. Yeah, if you want to post that in
Yeah,
chat.
we are.
Yeah, and thanks again to Emily for joining. Like minutes, well, not minutes, like an hour before her Truffle community call, and we'll be posting that link. So be sure to join that right after this. Be sure to check out Linea at linea.build. And be sure to check out the Blockchain Explorer for Linea. And just as FYI, Infura does not have a curly faucet for you to bridge. So we don't have that at the moment, but it should be coming soon. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Yeah, I guess just keep on biddling, keep on building, and keep it secure. Get those audits. Happy Friday. And then I would play a reel from East Tokyo too, just because I have.